Hello, Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? So, you know that every time I have intention, I have to talk about the different types of legal, social, and the core legal matters, literally which is important in modern time and the modern situation. And right now, I would like to talk about the anti-defection movement and anti-defection concept, which is much more important, rational, codified, and relevant for today's discussion. So, first of all, the question may arise, what do you mean by anti-defection activities and the concept of the anti-defection activities in Bangladesh? So, first of all, I have to mention anti-defection means a criteria of the constitution whether if a parliamentarian member is voting directly against the point of their own situation, own party, in the time his parliamentary seat can be void. This is called as the anti-defection system of Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan. So, second time the question may arise for why it is important in the modern constitution and the constitutional philosophy. You know that the modern constitution is more liberal than the previous time. In the previous time, the constitution was rigid, the constitution was written, and in some time it is so much impossible to implement the constitutional privacy, constitutional mandate, constitutional figure, and the constitutional sustainability towards the humankind and towards a core development of the society. But right now, the Article 70, according to Bangladesh Constitution, it is relevant because in a constituent assembly, people definitely choose a political party, and by choosing a political party, he is voting in favor of a party's figure or the party's man. And in that schedule, the party's man, party's figure, or the party's people, he will represent the common people, represent the ordinary people in front of the parliament. He will clarify everything of the constituent assembly. He will clarify everything of the people's demand, people's will, people's clarification. What is the core demand of the people? This will be reflected by the parliamentarian of his parliamentarian insight and the declaration measurement. For example, a people is being elected from Rajshahi on. So the people of Rajshahi on will be reflected by MD Anusuzzaman in front of the parliament and the parliamentary schedule. But when the problem will be arise, the problem will be arise whenever Mr. Anusuzzaman is going to parliament and first time he is voting in favor of the political parties, and everything is actually doing very good, everything is ongoing very good. The problem is that in an incident he has tried to vote against the party's figure, party's institution, party's ideological impact. In that time, it is totally create a delusion. It is totally create a illusion for the mechanism of the Constituent Assembly of Rajshahi Act. So, in that schedule, according to our legal figure, legal phenomenon, and the legal discussion, his political party's situation, political party seat will be vacated, on the basement of Article 70 of Bangladesh Constitution, because willfully Article 70 said that if any kind of parliamentarian member is voting against the party's philosophy, is voting against the party's mandate, is voting against the party's structure, his seat will be vacated. So it's a established principle ensuring the parliamentarian feasibility in our Bangladeshi constitution, in our Bangladeshi constitutional mechanism. The second reason is that if the political party retirement from his office of the profit, retirement from the post of the political parties, in that time his parliamentary situation can be vacated, his parliamentary attribution can be vacated. This is the sole contribution and the sole figure according to Article 70 of Bangladesh Constitution. Because right now we can discuss why it is important, what is the core demand of Article 70, Article 63A of Pakistan Constitution, or in Indian philosophy it is known as anti-defection movement in 1985. So initially during the time of the British regime, whether the Pakistan and India, they made their own constituency, they made their own country in the time some of the parties figure, parties people, or the parties affiliators, they willfully left the political party and they clarified and joined another political party without any kind of justification, without any kind of reinforcement activities. So this is actually unconstitutional, and for these reasons the political party on the basement of this political party, he reflected the people's voice. Since the very beginning of the constituent assembly or the constituent figure, his sole mandate has been destroyed. For these reasons, the constitutional expert and philosophers says that Article 70 has a big impact in interpreting, in reshaping the Bangladesh constitution, because by the activities, by the proactive movement of Article 70, more than hundreds of the people, they will not take the advantage of floor crossing, and floor crossing has a very bad effect of the society. First of all, the first problem is that floor crossing will create a haphazard situation for the parliamentarian. The parliamentarian will not know from which constituency, from which political party he is reflected his voice towards the people's development, people's communication, people's effective wills for making a very good society for the future time. The second reason is that it is on kind of it has a historical background in the constituent assembly. Whether the political party will retire after the commencement of parliament, it will create another haphazard situation for the election commissioner, for the political parties, because they have to again elect their own representative from their own constituency by the election. So definitely this process will hamper our economic situation, because Bangladesh is a developing country. It has a economic limitation. So whether you are maintaining huge amount of money for election, how will you invest the more income, how will you invest the more money towards the development of our society, towards the development of our political ideology, towards the development of our parliamentary constituency. So for these reasons, the modern constitutional expert says that we have to give up from the policy of Article 70. And on the other hand, some of the political leaders, some of the political parties, even the scholars, they demanded that Article 70 actually irrelevant in Bangladesh, irrelevant in India, and irrelevant in Pakistan, because it conceptualized and it limited the function of freedom of expression and freedom of movement. So what do you mean by the freedom of expression? Freedom of expression means every political party, every people, he can express his opinion, express his dealings, express his own intention without any kind of dilemma, without any kind of disfiguration, without any kind of fear. So this is the core demand of Article 70. This is the core demand of the Article 70 of Bangladesh Constitution. So why Article 70 is literally important in the constitutional prioritize and the constitutional expertise in Bangladesh. The first reason is that it is mentioned in 1972's constitutions, and 1972's constitution is the best constitution in Bangladesh. So after the independent from 1972 to 2026, it was huge amount of number. So in that time, more than 5 political parties, they came in power, but no political parties did not clarify, no political parties did not lessen the burden of Article 70. So from this perspective, from this experience, I can say that without any kind of justification, without any kind of proportional problem, Article 70 is much more important for the people's will and the people's representation in front of the parliamentary democracy. The second reason is that if I clarify the activities, clarify the situation of 1947 to 2000, 1971. So in that time, huge amount of political leaders, they left their political parties and they joined another political parties. So this had created the biggest problem during the time of 23 years of the Pakistan regime. But right now, the situation is being changed day by day. Right now, we are creating a very good situation, whether the political parties, they can vote in favor of the parties, they can vote in favor of the party's affiliation, because you know that before election, every political parties has a very good intention to remake, to resettle the political affiliation, political will of those countries. So if I make a basic comparative discussion with Bangladesh, India and Pakistan, Anti-Defection Act is profoundly active in Article 70 according to Bangladesh Constitution. But in India, it is based on the speaker. If the speaker would like to establish the matter before the election commission, in that time after observing everything, election commissioner can do everything whatever he actually wants for make a very good situation on that anti-defection movement. The third reason is that in the policy of Pakistan, anti-defection activities is so much rare in the Pakistan constitution. So after observing everything, I can say that in Pakistan constitution, it is lesser effective than Bangladesh and Pakistan. So in conclusion, as a advocate and as a citizen of Bangladesh, I can say that without any kind of interpretation and judgmental issues, Article 70 is much more essential for the perspective and for the proportional activities of Bangladesh Constitution, because Bangladesh Constitution is so much active, written and also rigid in the phenomenon of disfiguring Article 70. Even Article 70 has a great impact ensuring the justice, clarification, and proper mandate of the future time also. So I'm requesting the concerned authority to clarify and to implement the Article 70 profoundly and properly, and that will create a very good situation for the development mechanism of Bangladeshi Parliament and Constituent Assembly. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.